All right. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a special book discussion of The Nature Fix, Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative, written by Florence Williams. This program is part of our Book to Action series, and thanks to the California Center for the Book, who made all of our Book to Action programs possible. Our book selection, The Nature Fix, is a thorough account of Florence Williams' research on how connecting to nature affects us and how it is essential for our well-being. So today we are extremely excited. We're here at the Chula Vista Public Library. My name is Mara Cabrera, and I'm one of the librarians here. And we have special guests from the Nat San Diego, which are they're going to be discussing the book with us. They are going to share also their thoughts and also plenty of knowledge on outdoor life and how to enjoy it. So I'm going to introduce our guests. Rosie Bell is an education specialist with the San Diego Natural History Museum. At the NAT, Rosie manages the Nature to You loan program, a lending library for teachers, leads the summer camp program, writes curriculum, and teaches as often as she can. She received her BA in history from Cal State Long Beach and professional teaching credential from Cal State San Marcos. Certified to teach science, social studies, and math, Rosie spent much of her career teaching middle school in Escondido, where she was twice awarded Teacher of the Year. Her love of the outdoors led her to the NAT, where she strives to educate both young and old about the importance of nature and conservation. An Alma San Diego native, she lives in Poway with her San Diego native husband, 2 sons, and no native dog and pet lizard. Rosie is an avid reader. Her favorite nature spot is the beach, and she loves to hike as much as her trick knee will allow.
Yep.
Thanks so much for being here with us, Rosie.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And we have Ashton Hughie. He is an outdoors enthusiast, educator, mom to a new baby boy, and dog mom. Her appreciation and love of natural world is an integral part of who she is. She earned her BA in elementary education and professional teaching credential from the College of Charleston. After serving as a classroom teacher and public education advocate on the East Coast, she sought to marry her education background with her desire to connect people with nature. She is particularly passionate about connecting children, our future global leaders, and decision makers with the natural world. This is what led her to San Diego Natural History Museum. Ashton now works in education at the NET, instructing and curriculum writing for a variety of programs, including School in the Park, summer camp, and school programs. She is also a volunteer naturalist and hiking guide for the museum's canyoneers. Alrighty, thank you so much, Ashton, also for being here with us. And I wanted to ask you if any of you want to share a little bit about the NAT with us.
Sure. So I think we both have a little bit. First of all, we're so excited to be here. Thank you for having us, and particularly to talk about this book because it connects so well with our want to inspire an appreciation of nature and all people. Just a little bit about our history. We were formed by citizen scientists in 1874, and we were formed as the San Diego Society of Natural History, which is our official name. We've had kind of a wild history as far as where we've been located and where we've been housed. In 1912, we were located on 6th Street and then moved to various buildings in Balboa Park before finally moving into our current building in the 1930s. In the war years in 1943, we were actually a Navy hospital. We are currently the oldest scientific institution in Southern California, and we are, the third oldest scientific institution in Southern California, and the third oldest in west of the Mississippi.
And a lot of people may not know this, but we are an active scientific research institution. So we have the Biodiversity Research Center of the Californias, and their focus is on San Diego and Baja California. The active departments currently are botany, which is the study of plants, entomology, which is insects and other land, not arachnids, arthropods, excuse me, birds and mammals, herpetology, which is lizards, snakes, and amphibians, and then paleontology, of course. And I think everybody knows that's the study of fossils. In the news recently, since the pandemic started, we've had our herpetology department has been doing some habitat restoration in Baja California for the red-legged frog. Um, the red-legged frog has been extirpated from San Diego County, which means it hasn't been seen in San Diego for a while. And so part of that restoration was they were able to capture and relocate some red-legged frogs to San Diego County. And so far it's been really successful. So we're hoping that we get some native red-legged frogs and maybe not the Baja transplants in a few years. And then recently, you may have seen this in the news this week, our paleontology department was working right down there in Otay Mesa on the State Route 11 and discovered some fossils that are 16 to 28 million years old. The highlights of those fossils are a camel and a horse and other small mammals. And I can tell you our paleontology department is extremely excited to have these fossils and a chance to work on them. So not just a museum, we're really happy and proud of our scientists as well. So yeah, so that's a little bit about us. We're working hard and trying to keep active and during the pandemic while everybody's at home. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the work that you're doing, keeping us connected also to all of this amazing information. I'm pretty excited about everything that's happening right now. So how about we get started with our book discussions? I have my book right here, Nature Fixed. Hopefully some of the folks that got on our live streaming also have read it and maybe want to ask some questions. So if you have a question about the book or anything we're talking about throughout the streaming, just post it in the comment area and we'll keep track of it, and we're gonna be sure to answer it as soon as we see it. Okay, and so let's get started. And first of all, what did you all think? Well, both of you think about the book? Did you like it?
I'll just jump right in, and I loved the book for a number of reasons. Mainly, it's my favorite topic to talk about and to learn about, which is nature. But also, I just found it very interesting how it was a great mix. The way that it was organized just made it very interesting in that she included a lot of research and a lot of data, but then she also had her own kind of angsty comments about her transition from moving to the wildlands of Colorado to DC, which I could very much relate with because I'm a Northern Virginia native. So I know how it can be out there, but also that there was just a very eclectic variety of sources that she pulled from in the book, from various fields and cultures that I just found added to the book in a really meaningful way. And then I don't know whether I'm still kind of trying to figure this out, whether it's the thing that I really liked about the book or that I am still trying to navigate. But one effect of the book anyway is that it made me hyper aware of what I take in from the environment, everything from sound to smell and just how that affects me day to day. So maybe some things I'm noticing I didn't notice before about, car sounds out my window or people talking on the phone next door, but still trying to figure out how that's going to benefit me. Right now, I'm just more sensitive to it.
Yes, yes, that's pretty amazing. I really, really, really loved um, all the information about the smells. It's just
Hmm.
extremely interesting and kind of like makes you think and remember, oh, and kind of like, put things together and think about, oh, when I'm outdoors, especially like what places do really like make me calm, which other places do not. And so it's pretty interesting. What about you, Rosie?
Same. I thought it was a great, really great book. I loved her writing style that she kind of transitioned between these descriptive paragraphs and then mixed it up with the scientific data. So it wasn't just a data-driven book. It really did talk about the effects and the sound. You know, she really tried to describe all of the sensations of being in nature. And like Ashton, I was telling her yesterday that I've rediscovered sound for myself in terms of it being a calming influence. When I feel myself getting anxious or stressed, I actually just pull up YouTube and find nature sounds. And it helps, you know, just listening to some nature sounds while I'm working. It really, really helps. I'm really so pleased and happy that you invited us to read this book. I really got a lot out of it. So thank you.
Yes, of course. We're super excited to have you both, especially because you both have a lot of knowledge, and can connect a little bit more. All of the research that can be found in the book to our everyday lives. And what you say about the sounds is extremely interesting because for me, the sound of rain makes me like it helps me sleep. I grew up in Puerto Rico, so there's a lot of rain there, and which is something I miss living out here
Yeah.
sometimes. So it's wonderful. All right, so if we get on to our next topic, or our next question for our book discussion. Do you both engage in outdoor activities? And if you do, how do you feel afterwards?
So for me, definitely, I love taking walks on the beach. I love camping. And like in my bio, I try to hike. I'm not a very good hiker anymore. I have a bad knee. But you know what? It doesn't keep me from just going for a quick walk out in the canyon or somewhere. I really love to do that. So um, I also love to use some apps that connect me to nature. So one of the ones that we use at the museum is called iNaturalist, and it helps me focus on the nature that I'm seeing. So if I see a bee or an interesting flower, I can take a picture, upload it to that app, and then it helps me to know what that is. So you can see there's a couple of my favorite places, a picture of me at Yosemite, which love Yosemite. I can't believe I just recently went for the first time. Truly an amazing place if you've never been. Very just amazing rock formations, and the nature was beautiful. And then another picture down below of Torrey Pines, one of my other favorite places to visit that I go to as often as I can. So.
That's
I,
that's great. What about you, Ashton?
I really just enjoy being outside as often as possible. And I think before new baby, I did a lot more active stuff. Like I have my pictures up there of my bucket list of all my number one bucket list hike, which was the Narrows in Zion National Park, and then kayaking. That's my little hedgehog that I used to have kayaking with me. So I used to do more active stuff and haven't really jumped back in that game yet. But regardless of whether it's something more active like that or whether it's going out to a favorite trail and bringing my journal or doing some nature photography is one of my favorite things too. I always feel invigorated in some way afterward, whether that's physically or mentally. I just feel refreshed and somewhat lighter after I come back. even if it's a lunch break, you know, when we are open and we're at the Nat, if it's walking out and sitting on a bench, just for a few moments, I just feel so much better. Sometimes I feel physically exhausted, depending on the activity, but there's always that sense of invigoration afterwards, that comes from the things that we learn about in this book, the sunlight and the smells that you're exposed to. So absolutely love outdoor time.
Yes. I also love outdoors. My favorite place to be outdoors is the beach, just like you, Rosie. That's my favorite place. I guess because I did live and grew up on an island. So that's one of my favorite places. But after I moved to California, being able to see so many different and so beautiful and places that take your breath away. I really fell in love with with this place too. So let's see. How about something that we wanted to talk a little bit, which came from reading this book, is how can we balance a life with technology, especially with social media, in keeping that connection to nature? And I think this is kind of like an important question right now, especially because we can go outdoors, but it might be a little bit more difficult due to the current situation. So I think it's important to see how we can balance our lives, especially when we're working, going to school, and doing everything from home, everything online.
So this is something that I've kind of always grappled with, even pre-COVID, pre-lock-in times, is that, you know, we're all pretty sensitive to the amount of screen time that we're exposed to. And there's been those moments, I'm sure everybody who engages in social media has had them, where maybe you want to just take a social media hiatus because it's just too much, right? Too much all at once. And I've definitely had those, but I've found actually social media to be a pretty great tool to inform me about different things to do outside. And especially locally, what we've done just here is picked some of our favorite social media pages: Ocean Discovery, California Native Plant Society, San Diego Canyonlands. And by following all of these accounts, I actually feel more connected with nature in a way, because they do a great job of presenting these really cool facts about local nature, and then also they share pretty often some events that you can either attend virtually or in person to learn more or to do more. So there's a lot of volunteer opportunities that these different organizations will post, with doing beach cleanups or canyon restorations. And so actually now when I go on Facebook or when I go on Instagram, my feed is just kind of flooded with all of these ways that I can engage with nature at a local level or a greater level. And I couldn't go without talking about the Nat's social pages as well. So we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, and it's a great place to find, again, some really cool facts and current research that is happening. Like Rosie mentioned earlier, our paleontology discoveries or the red-legged frog work, but also just events that we're hosting virtually. And then when we get back to the museum, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that, technology, we can get outside, and I mentioned that we can use the technology, our phones, to take photographs and use the technology to help us get outside and interact with nature. But it's important that we um, keep that balance, right? Making sure that we're really noticing and appreciating the things that are around us, especially San Diego. Like you mentioned, there's so many different wonderful things about San Diego. You can go to the beach and be in the desert in the same day. There's all these different habitats and wonderful places. There's somewhere in San Diego for everybody. And just so keeping that balance, trying to make sure that we're using the technology to help us get outside and stay connected, but not letting us take over. So I think that's really important.
Yes, for sure. Actually, we some of the librarians here, we tried iNaturalist because one of our librarians, she did a tutorial for it, and one day that we went to record some things over to Rice Canyon, it was extremely interesting because even though you were using the phone, we were using the phone and everything. I was paying attention to things that I hadn't noticed before in some of the plants and some of the flowers, some details that were so beautiful, and like the tiniest flowers that we found. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting, especially if you have kids. I would totally recommend that technology. All right. So let's see. Let's go to our next question. How can we use the research that we find in the book, in the Nature Fix, to improve our physical and mental health?
So I think it was really great that she touched on all of the different senses, the visual, the sound, the smell, taking advantage of all those things. And there's so many green spaces within San Diego County. I think the hardest thing, and I was so surprised to find out in the book that there's only two places in all of the continental United States that you can go and literally not have any sounds of the city. No planes or cars. It's that I thought was astounding. So that's really hard to get away from. But the other things, the smells and the sensation of being in the mountains among pine trees and things like that, those are all ways to help you feel better. I think the research she presented was really convincing in that nature does make you feel better. It's not just getting away from the city, it's actually that nature helps you to reconnect with yourself and calms you. And I think the parts with the kids, especially talking about ADD kids and the outward bound kids, the kids that were having trouble in school, that they get out in nature and they rediscover themselves, find a whole different part of themselves. I think that was just amazing, and really, really important to think about. At the end of the book, she talked about, I hope I'm not ruining it for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but she did talk about those, getting out outside every day for just a little bit, and maybe taking a day every week and getting out for an hour. And then maybe once a year, taking a little longer break in nature, that you can kind of layer the experiences. It doesn't have to be every single week or every single day, but just a little doses here and there, and maybe a big dose once in a while. I thought that was really, really great.
Yes, at the end, well, actually, in the book, I remember that she talks about the Finnish the Finnish recommendation of 5 hours a month. And I thought, wow, that's like so little, thinking that, I would think you would need more. But yeah, with only 5 hours a month, it could really improve your life. So I have a comment here, very interesting, which says, gardening from Diana. Gardening is a great way to connect to nature. What do you both think about that, especially now with some of the limitations that we have?
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. There's just something great about, being in the sun, being in the air, and then also having, I don't know that she touched on it in the book, but I've definitely read about the benefits of just feeling dirt on your skin. And I just think that that's an incredible way. And also kind of what you were saying earlier, is that it's a way to notice the small things. I think that when you're honed in on the small little details that you notice when you're gardening, whether it's the visitors that you're attracting while you garden, or the process that you see your plants go through if you're doing, flowers or vegetable gardens or whatever, it just is very healing. And on that note, I'm curious if anybody has any comments here, or Rosie, maybe you're doing it too. But I just hear time and time and time again about the benefits of gardening and planting native plants specifically to support native, bee populations and insects and just the overall ecology of our area. But it's something that I haven't dived into fully. It's a bucket list thing of mine, and I would love to, but I'm just curious if either of you have experience with that, or any of our listeners.
It's funny you say. I took advantage of some information about monarch butterflies that we received from Michael Wall, who's our head of entomology at the museum. And I planted some native milkweed in my front yard in March, and I was just amazed to see. Now I have monarch butterflies flying around in my front yard. I've got to see the caterpillars turn into little chrysalises on my front in my front yard. It's been just amazing being able to connect with the nature that's around, plant, especially native plants. Doing that is, that you're doing something good for the animals that are around here, giving them a place to live and something to eat. So.
Yes. So we actually, over here at the Chula Vista Public Library, we have a seed library, which is usually physically located. We have it right here. It's this tiny little thing right here. We usually have it physically at the Otay Ranch branch, but we have it right now here with us at the Civic Center branch. And if anyone who's listening, viewing, it's interested in checking out some seeds, we can arrange that for you. Just call the branch. We have library takeout right now. So basically you can check out books and pick them up outside the library. So we could definitely arrange that for you for seeds. So that way you can start getting connected with nature just right outside your house, or even like inside. If you don't have a lot of space, we have some seeds that are good for inside gardening too.
That's so cool. I love that.
All right. So should we move to our next topic?
Sure.
All right. So the next question is, how can local community governments adapt or urban environments to enhance them and make them more nature friendly?
So this kind of connects to what I was just saying, but while what we see locally might not compare to what she mentioned, for example, in Singapore, I think that there's such a great opportunity when we're doing beautification of our cities or of our neighborhoods to keep native plants in mind. You so often see these extraordinary tropical plants, but there's this great opportunity there to incorporate natives, and that would just be wonderful.
Yeah, I looked at the city of Chula Vista has a wonderful open space page. There are some open spaces all throughout Chula Vista, and they are really committed to supporting the preservation of those areas. So if you ever see something like, in the area, if whether you're in Chula Vista or anywhere in the county that needs a little bit of attention, I think the government, our local governments are really taking notice and helping to keep these spaces clean and safe for everyone to enjoy, which is a really important thing. Even at the Nat, we're starting up a Canyonlands project to help support and get everyone out into nature. I don't know if you know that there are urban canyons all over San Diego County. And then there's wonderful, you can kind of see in this photograph here, all those almost like little lungs of nature, giving us some open space all into the urban area. Those are a really great way to connect to nature, and pressuring and making sure that our local government is taking care of those spaces is part of what we are working on ourselves too. Um, but yeah, Chula Vista, I think, is doing a really good job with that. Um, I also saw in 2012, the city of San Diego created a City Heights urban loop that went through their local canyon, and so they're supporting the urban canyons and making them accessible and easy for people to get to. So that's one way with that everybody can be involved in making sure that their local government is doing that.
That's great. Yeah, I have to agree here in Chula Vista. Parks and Recreation Department does a really great job in keeping all the areas safe. And right now, for anyone who wants to, be outdoors, enjoy the parks or the hiking trails, you can follow any of the city departments on social media to make sure to know what the hours are and the specifications and everything. All right, let's see. So how about connecting with nature during this current time of COVID?
So the wonderful thing about San Diego, as Rosie just mentioned, is that we've got outdoor and wild spaces, green spaces, as she calls it in the book, very accessible no matter where you are in San Diego County, whether it's the urban canyons or some of our county parks, some of our state parks. This shows a visual of some of our urban canyons, but we've got some really cool opportunities too with iNaturalist to just get outside if it's in your backyard and identify some things there or in your neighborhoods. I know Rosie had picked out these two. Rosie, did you want to talk about those?
Yeah, Rice Canyon. I think Mara, you were saying you were just out there not too long ago. So Rice Canyon is I think right in the middle of Chula Vista, right? Very flat 2 mile trail. It's a very easy to get to. And you may see some houses at the ridge line of the canyon, but it's a really beautiful kind of open space to get to. And then, of course, Otay Lakes. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many different trails are around Otay Lakes, but really, really amazing place to go. And then you have really close to the bay as well with Living Coast Discovery Center. I know they're closed right now, but I think you can get in to kind of just enjoy the space in the area. And I really, in talking about COVID, I think we can't discount just getting out into our backyard or our local park. You don't really have to go to these open spaces to get your nature fix. You can get it if you live in an apartment building. Maybe you need to take a short walk over to the local school or a park and get that, just a little bit of a walk to an open space of some kind. Maybe taking your lunch in your backyard if you're working from home instead of at your desk. Those are all little ways that we can do it. It's really important too for kids, especially with distance learning. It looks like that's going to be here for a little while. We need to be sure that we're getting our kids outside and away from their computers a little bit. So take advantage of all the different things that are around us. And if you get a chance to go farther, that's wonderful. I know camping is definitely on the rise. I just was researching, I think there were over 300 million visits to national parks last year. 300 million. And there's only 300 million people in the United States. So that tells you that everybody's getting out and taking advantage of these spaces. If you can get away a little bit farther, that's great. But if you can't, being right in your neighborhood is just as good. And we have some other resources. Ashton will talk about the Canyoneers, some resources for more local use.
So we've got this amazing program, a volunteer program at the San Diego Natural History Museum that was started in 1973. And the idea was that we would use nearby Florida Canyon to kind of act as an outdoor classroom and nurture that connection with nature, and also the sort of conservationist spirit that we're all about. The program still lives, and we offer free interpretive hikes from September all the way through June. They are by no means a race to the top or race to the finish type of hike. They're all about taking in everything in the area, everything on the trail, from the smallest little things to, you know, if we happen to see something really large, the rock formations and whatnot. They're offered in San Diego, Imperial, and Riverside counties and are about 75 locations. They're from the easiest hikes that you can imagine to some more difficult ones. So there's something there for everybody. Right now, you know, we're talking about our upcoming season. And of course, with COVID in mind, it's probably going to look quite different than our usual seasons. But there's a COVID committee happening and a virtual Canyoneer committee that's meeting for the first time next week to talk about how do we still connect everyone with nature in our area. So stay tuned for that. And if you're looking to explore places a little bit further out, we've even got some urban hikes in there too. There's this excellent resource that the Canyoneers worked so hard to create that ties with our Coast to Cactus exhibit, and that is this Coast to Cactus guide. And within it, it lists so many different trails. It talks about the types of things that you might see, the difficulty level, and so on, that have all been written by the Canyoneers and curated by the Canyoneers. So typically you could find that in our museum store and then some other retailers in San Diego County. But with us being closed right now, you can find that on Amazon if you're interested. And then also, these have all been featured in the Roma-Rama section of the San Diego Reader. So if you go to the San Diego Reader website and look for the Roma-Rama articles, we've got all of those archived hiking guides and recommendations for hikes in San Diego County. And then we have a really cool opportunity coming up for the nearest by nature, and that is nature in your own home. So we have Nat Talks in the museum typically, but we've gone to the virtual format during COVID, and I've been able to attend all but one. They've been super interesting.
Very good.
This one is going to be featuring Dr. Rob Dunn, and he's the author of this book called Never Home Alone. So the really cool thing, and why I say it's your nearest by nature, is because it is talking about all of the incredible diversity of organisms that you can find in your home, from your shower head to your armpits. It's just kind of fascinating stuff that he shares. So typically we would have these talks from starting at 7 p.m., but we're starting a little bit earlier this time because at the end of the talk, we're going to have an iNaturalist tutorial and share how to use iNat. I know you guys did an awesome tutorial earlier as well, but this one will also share how you can contribute to his research of organisms in homes and some other outdoor projects that the Nat participates in as well. These talks, and this talk is free, but it requires registration, so you can find that on our website. Typically when we're in person, our tickets are $12, but again, during this time, we know that everybody's just experiencing a variety of hardships and stressors, so we do offer it for free, and there's an option for a contribution as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm kind of nervous about to figure out what's creeping and crawling in my house. But I think it'll be very interesting.
Yes, that sounds extremely interesting. So I really hope I can also join. So also here at the library, we do have plenty of books. We have hiking guides specifically to the San Diego area. We have books about gardening and books about enjoying the outdoors, we have the Nature Fix available for checkout as well. So if anyone wants to check out a book, we have that service right now. It's called Library Takeout. You can go to our website and see how it works. If you don't have a library card, that's okay. You can give us a call, and we can provide you with a way of checking out your books. And yeah, so I think that there are plenty of ways out there to keep us connected to nature during this time. Especially, I feel like living in this area, the San Diego area, it's even taking a walk around our neighborhood, we are going to be connected to nature because we live in such a beautiful place where we can see trees and plants everywhere. So I think that's the benefits of living out here, especially for some of us that don't have a backyard or live, in small spaces, apartment complexes. Maybe it's not that easy, but we do have that. We have parks also. I love going out here to the park that's by the library and just taking a walk during my lunch break. It's pretty nice. So yeah, well, thank you so much. I'm looking at the comments and see if it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I want to encourage everyone to follow the Nat on social media. I've been following, especially on Instagram. You even have some story times, which are really amazing. And there's just great stuff on your social media that people can connect to. So follow the Nat on social media. Also follow us, Chula Vista Public Library. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course, because we're here. And yeah, so is there anything else you want to share with everyone who's watching right now? Before we go, I want to say that there is a small survey that the Nat put together, which I'm going to put right now on the comments box so people can access it. But if there's anything you, Rosie or Ashton, that want to share with the public?
I just wanted to add one more time. Thank you so much for having us and for introducing us to this book, because I had not read it, and it was the perfect time to read it. It's just incredible how much it opened my eyes to everything from, the benefits of nature to the sunshine, the smells, and everything else. And it's so needed right now, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was just a real pleasure to read the book and to get to talk about it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, connecting it with the book. Thank you to the City of Chula Vista, the Chula Vista Public Library, and also the California Center for the Book, who made all of this possible. And yeah, so we'll keep in touch. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.